Hey there. Thanks for joining us for episode 88 of the Unsecurity Podcast. Today is July 13th, 2020. And I'm your host, Evan Francine. I'm joined by my good friend, I called you a good friend, and coworker, Brad Nye. Good morning, Brad.
Good morning, Evan.
You don't seem as cheery this morning as normal.
No, I was mentioning I was up with a kid who had a nightmare for a good portion of the night, so caffeine kicked in yet.
Do you ever have nightmares?
I don't know when the last time I woke up with or had like a nightmare. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. All right. Well, today we're doing part 5 of the Women in Security series, and I'm excited to welcome our guest. She's a senior at Penn State University, majoring in Cybersecurity Analytics and Operations, and her name is Andrea Hatcher. Welcome, Andrea.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
So you're more cheery than we are.
I'm very used to getting up early, and around here it's only 8 a.m., so got some time to wake up.
I'm not sharing what time I got up. All right. Well, I'm especially excited for today's show for a couple of reasons. One, because Andrea is just beginning her career, her career journey anyway. And we get to play a small part of it, just being able to talk to you, I think is kind of cool. Hopefully, we create some memories just in this hour together. And two, Andrea is a fan of the show. Fans of the show are the best fans, in my opinion. Anyway, thanks for agreeing again to the podcast, Andrea.
Thank you again for having me. I'm super excited. I listen to the podcast every week, usually while doing my programming for class, and so far I've learned a lot from listening to it.
Awesome. Well, this is just the start of a kind of a thing. That's cool. All right, so first things first, before we get too deep, we got to check in. Brad, how you doing?
Good overall. Overall nice weekend. We had some storms come through Saturday afternoon, ruined my plans for smoking. So I'll be smoking my the bone-in shoulder roast this afternoon. Kick that off on lunchtime.
Are you gonna bring it in?
It's on the way home. It'll be done about 6.
Do you want to send some to Penn State?
Yeah, I don't know how that would ship, but
they can ship that. They can vacuum seal it or something.
Yeah.
All right. So you had a good weekend. You avoided the rain. Did you ride your bike?
I did. Got a little bit of that in. Spent just a lot of time with the kids, just playing games and having fun, and got outside yesterday with them and spent a couple hours.
Yeah.
Nice day. So it's good. The weather kind of broke. It wasn't, oppressively hot and humid. So it was nice.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I got 300 miles in maybe.
Oh, nice.
On my bike. Went on Friday night, went on kind of a date night with my wife. Found a place that we'd never been to before. So we rode the motorcycle there and had dinner, and then we rode to another place way up in Sauk Center. Do you know where that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Been up there.
Yeah, I rode up there. That was like 70 miles there and 70 miles back. And then yesterday we met up with Tony.
Mm-hmm.
No, Tony. Yeah, you had the call with Tony.
I had a call with Tony.
Yeah.
It was actually a really good call with Tony.
Good. Well, he's a listener, so I'm sure he'll.
It was very helpful. I do appreciate what he had to say.
Yeah, it was me, my wife, Tony, his wife, Bobby, his wife, and then Corey Tram. Do you know Corey Tram?
Man, that name sounds really familiar.
He works at Sourcewell.
I don't think I've met him. I may have been on a call with him or something, or I've emailed with him. I don't think I've met him though.
Okay. Well, yesterday it was all 4 couples riding, so it was fun. We had a little biker gang.
Okay.
Somebody hit me up on Twitter. Twitter said we should start a hacker motorcycle club.
Got to come up with some really geeky name that nobody gets.
Yeah. Something. How about you, Andrea? How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. I came back up to State College and moved a bunch of stuff back into my apartment, so that kept me very busy. I saw Hamilton on Disney Plus this weekend for the first time, which it was very good.
Was it?
Yeah, I would recommend it. There's no talking, but very historical, and I love history, so I enjoyed it a lot.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm a history guy too.
Yeah, and then I did a lot of work on a certification I'm currently working on. So it was a busy weekend.
Cool. What certification?
I'm working on the CompTIA Security Plus certification.
Good for you.
Thank you.
And how's it going so far?
It's a lot of work, a lot of information, but I'm enjoying it a lot and I'm learning a lot. So it's worth the price tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So so you said you moved up to Happy Valley. Is that what?
Yeah, we call it Happy Valley, but the actual town is known as State College.
Ah. And how far away from State College do you live? Like how far?
So I live just outside of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. So it's about a 3.5, 4-hour drive. So it's not too bad.
From my place, I grew up in Fairfax.
Really? Where in Fairfax?
Alexandria, actually, right between Old Town and Mount Vernon.
Really? I grew up in like I live and grew up in Springfield.
Yeah, West Potomac. So.
Yep, the traffic is awful.
Yep, I did not miss that at all. Very cool.
That is cool. All right. Well, got anything you guys are excited about? Anything coming up? When are you going to take your test, Andrea?
I take it 2 weeks before classes start, so at the end of August.
Very cool.
Do you need any help?
Not yet, but I'll let you know if I do.
Yeah.
Okay, because Brad, from rumor has it, Brad's up early every morning.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm excited about that. Yeah, that's a good exam. It's a good place to, as you progress in your career. So good for you.
Really good starting point.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Brad, are you excited about anything this week?
I am. SANS is having their BFIR summit free on Thursday and Friday. So I'm excited for a bunch of talks and learning some new stuff on the IR and forensics side of things.
Who's teaching that? Do you know?
It's like a whole bunch of different classes or like tracks, I guess.
Okay. Is Jake Williams?
I don't know.
Malware Jake. All right.
Let's see. I don't know
what I'm doing this week. Survive. We'll try to survive this week. All right. Well, good. Let's get to it. Part 5 of the Women in Security series, and each week just gets better and better. What have you thought so far, Brad?
This has been great. I mean, I don't know. It's just really interesting to hear the experiences and perspectives.
It is, isn't it? Well, one of the things I've always kind of struggled, and I wrote it in chapter 10 of Unsecurity, the book, the shortage of women in our industry. And I think at the time, the best study I could find was 11% of our industry was female, which is, kind of the same in IT. Some people were justifying, I'd had a lot of discussions about that and that being an issue. And some people don't see it as a problem.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same as IT. And I even had one guy who said, well, what's the percentage of women that are garbage collectors? But this was somebody from the other side of the pond. So they call it something else, like refuse or whatever they call it over there. But anyway, we do, in my opinion, we do have a shortage of women in our industry. I've been to enough conferences. Brad, you and I have been in this industry for a long time.
Yeah. Well, which is funny because I don't know if you saw last night on Twitter, I actually was active, which is rare. But
yeah, you tweeted.
Jess Dodson was making a comment about that. And it's kind of interesting right at the, with the timing of it. I was like, yeah, no, come on.
What was she saying?
It was, hold on. She said, nothing quite like being the ignored one in the room and being made to feel like your skills aren't of any use. Ladies in tech, and particularly ladies in info or in cybersec, is this something we just have to get used to? No, it shouldn't be. It's gonna be a lot of the industry if you have to.
Right. All right. Well, the purpose behind this series is to bring to light the unique experiences, perspectives, and opinions of women in our industry in the hopes of making the path smoother and more inviting for others. You know, I guess it depends on who I'm talking to. Every week it's been my favorite week. But one that stands out is, Lori, who, what was that, week 2?
Mm-hmm.
Part 2 of the series, where 1985, she started in this industry. Andrea, were you born in 1985 yet? You don't have to share your age.
No, I'm turning 21 in July. So I was born in 99. So I wasn't even alive then. I don't even think I was an image in my parents' mind at that point.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I'm getting old.
Yep.
I'm going to make it to half a century pretty soon. I'll be 50. Brad, are you 40 yet?
Yes. Yeah. 43.
Yes.
Yes. I don't want to talk about it.
All right. So we're doing this series by inviting women as guests of our show so that they can share with us. I think if it was you and I talking about women in information security, it's not the same.
No.
Right? I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I don't know what it's like to be a woman in this industry. So we purposely chose women at various stages of their career and in various roles. So if you've seen the guests that we had so far, we've had Renee, who isn't really a security practitioner. She's just got boatloads of IT leadership experience and leads a team of information security analysts today at FRSecure. Then you got Lori, 1985, and then we had Victoria, maybe 2 years? Not even.
Yeah, coming up on 2 years, a year and a half.
Yeah, and she's a career changer. She came from, insurance adjuster, which she hated, and then Kristen Judge last week. She's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And now Andrea.
Now I'm here.
Right?
Not as great of a resume as those other fantastic and inspiring women, but.
Well, no. I mean, it's amazing. Whenever I talk to somebody who's, just kind of prepping to get into the industry, it brings me back. It reminds me of those days, because for me, it was a long time ago too. And things are so fresh and so new, and just like, when you figure something out, how two things kind of work. Holy crap! Look at me. You know what I mean? Are you having those experiences? Those like,
Oh, every day. I mean, right now is one of those experiences.
Oh.
So.
Brad, do you have any of those experiences anymore?
Yeah. I've been doing like the capture the flag stuff, and I haven't done programming or coding for a way long time, and doing some like reverse engineering. So yeah, you kind of challenge yourself, and when you get it, it's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. So it's cool to get the perspectives. It's cool to get, it's better learning. Certainly for me, I've learned things. I think a couple of epiphanies for me in the series so far. Andrea's here, and things that we'll cover. I don't know truly if we do have a shortage of women in this industry. I think we do. It seems like we do, but I don't know. We can talk about that. And if we do have a shortage of women, like I said before, some people don't think it's a big deal. I mean, I don't know. We can talk about that too. So let's start with you, Andrea. What got you into this? I mean, tell me how you got here.
Yeah, so my journey is a little twisty. It wasn't a very straight path for me. So I started getting interested in STEM my junior year of high school. I joined a robotics team. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the organization FRST Robotics. So I did that, and it made me think I wanted to be an engineer. Applied to Penn State as an engineer, got in, did not like engineering, realized it was not for me. So what I did was I knew I was looking for something that I could do either intelligence work or national security, and I wanted to stay in STEM. And I especially wanted a career that wasn't stagnant because I love learning. So I wanted to be a lifelong learner, and I wanted a career that would facilitate that. So what I did was I went on the Penn State website and basically just looked at a bunch of majors and thought cybersecurity sounded really interesting. I took a chance and took an introduction to information security class and fell in love, and the rest is history.
That's cool. So how long ago was that?
So I started cybersecurity my sophomore year. So that was about 2 years ago.
Okay. So 2 years in, you haven't run for the hills yet.
No, I haven't.
I think this might be a thing, Brad.
You're stuck. Once you get in, you get out.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yep. You're going to have to grow a beard. Wait.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I can always wrap my hair around it, pin it.
That's true. And I could maybe put it up here.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So, so you were going to be an engineering student, and then, and you just kind of looked at things you didn't like engineering anymore. So you looked at things, kind of on the class schedule and said, oh, intro to information security, or you took that and then that was it.
Yeah, so I also had done some research online about cybersecurity and saw how much of a growing field it was and how much of a demand there was for it. And that really interested me. And one of the things I did know about prior going into the major was things are constantly changing. So you always have to stay updated. And that's something I really like about it is, again, it's not stagnant. I can't really get bored because attacks are always changing. Defenses are always changing. Yeah. So.
Until you get old. Then you can't keep up with it anymore.
That's when you transition into that C-level role.
Yeah. That's when you become management.
Yeah.
And you get lots of respect because you had lots of cred back in the day. They're like, oh yeah, you're not good anymore, but we're. All right. So how soon do you graduate?
So I'm taking an extra semester just because I did spend a year in engineering. So I'll be graduating December of 2021. So it's coming up soon, and I'm not really ready to graduate. I'm not really ready to fully adult, but.
Yeah, adulting's hard sometimes. I mean, I still don't adult. Do you, Brad?
Oh God, no.
No, my wife, thank God for her, because.
Mm-hmm. So, having done it, what are the classes around, like subject matter, or like what's the breakdown? Is it technical? Is it governance? How does that work?
Right. So it's important to note that I'm going to be only the second class at Penn State who will graduate with a degree in Cybersecurity Analytics and Operations.
Very
so
cool.
It's a very, very new program. It used to be a part of a security risk analysis program, but they realized how much of a need for it there was and created an own program. So curriculums are pretty much always changing. There's not really a set curriculum yet, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And as for your question about whether it's policy or technical, it's a mixture of both. So like this year, I'm taking a malware analytics class.
Cool.
So, and then we are also required to take technical writing, and we're required to take some security risk analysis classes. So it's a pretty good mixture of both.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
And it's nice that it's as broad as that is, especially being it's only the second year at Penn State. What part do you like? Do you have a part that you like the most? Yeah.
So I'm very interested in kind of the intelligence side of things. Unlike a lot of my peers, I'm very interested in defense. Okay. So most of my peers really want to do red team, so offensive stuff. And I think blue team is really cool. So that's what I like the most. I have really enjoyed my programming classes. I really enjoy programming and programming against attacks. So I still have a lot to learn. There are definitely classes that are coming up I'm very excited about. So, but on top of that, I'm also doing a lot of my own research outside of class. So I'm obviously taking this CompTIA certification, and then I go online, do LinkedIn courses, do pretty much grab any information I can to learn as much as I can.
Yeah. Well, good. That's going to serve you so well. I mean, that's how it works. You never stop learning. I mean, I'm not a hacker anymore. And I'm coding something this morning. I was coding a news aggregator. You know, I want to pull all the news feeds and start doing threat intelligence out of the news feeds. I don't know why. I just am. So you mentioned that there's a class that's coming up that you're really looking forward to. Which one is that?
So we have something called a Capstone, which is kind of your final presentation of everything you've learned at Penn State. And they give you an open-ended question and you're put with a group and you have to work together on it. So that's something I'm very excited to do. There's a penetration testing class that I'm excited to do. I'm not so much looking forward to my technical writing, but it's something I have to do.
Well, just so you know, Evan and I have both said it, but 2/3 of what you do is writing. So get used to it. It's definitely not the most fun, but
It's a necessary evil.
Well, even in pen testing, I mean, a pen test is great, but if nobody can understand the report that you wrote, who cares, right? I mean, you know how you did how your attack played out. Yeah, that technical writing. It's funny because, Brad, I don't know about you, but when I was when I was probably Andrea's age, I hated writing reports too.
I still hate writing them.
Do you really?
No, not really.
Okay. I actually enjoy writing reports now.
Yeah, no, it's not too bad. Once you get into the flow of it and understand and, get a style, not too bad.
Andrew, tell me about, you have an internship coming up, don't you?
Yeah, so I can't talk too much about it just because of the nature of it, but I'm currently doing cybersecurity project management because one of the things that I want to do in cybersecurity is kind of more on the management side. I have noticed that I have an affinity for communication more so than some of my other peers. Just because of how I grow up, I feel like I can communicate better and I feel like I would be really good in that role. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm learning a lot. It's been good so far.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm sure I have no doubt you'll succeed.
Yeah, and it's been nice because I have been able to do it remotely, which I'm very lucky because so many college students, not only in our college, which is the College of Information Science and Technology, but all the majors and colleges have unfortunately lost their internships because of this pandemic.
Now, an internship, is that required for graduation?
Yeah, so we are required to take an internship class. I'm not sure about the other colleges at Penn State, but in the College of IST we are required to have 300 hours. And then we take a class alongside that, which includes things like diversity, engagement, communication with your other peers. So it's not a hard class, but they push it hard at Penn State to have an internship. They feel it's really important, and I happen to agree.
That's cool. How big are your classes?
So depending on
in that major?
So because it's so new, there's not a ton. The College of IST was only created in 1999, so the year I was born. So it's still a fairly small college. We pretty much only occupy half of the building. But your cybersecurity specific classes can only be about maybe 25 to 30 people. But, your general education courses, I've had classes of 300 to 400. Right. So in IST, they're fairly small, but they can still get pretty big.
Yeah. How big a school is Penn State?
Penn State, so the main campus, which is the campus I'm on, has 45,000 students just on the main campus. And overall, including World Campus, which is our online campus, I believe it's around 100,000. So it's a very big school.
I went to the University of Minnesota.
That sounds very cold.
Yeah, I don't know why we live here. Well, it's because Brad lives here. That's why I live here.
I moved here because you lived here. Wait, we're doing this wrong.
What the hell?
Aren't you guys down in Florida?
I lived in Florida for a while, and no thanks. It's too hot all the time.
I guess it's that humidity.
Hurricanes.
So Penn State is about the same size as the University of Minnesota. And the reason why I was wondering is I'm trying to put it into perspective. You know, I remember like my Psych 101 class, you know, my freshman year was like, we had a whole auditorium. You never saw the professor. You know, it was all taught on video. Just send me the video. I don't need to even go to class.
I mean, our big classes aren't like that. Like the professor is always there. And I learned very early on that in order to be engaged in those classes, I had to sit in the first 4 rows, which always makes the classes seem smaller, and the professor knows your face. So you kind of get that personal interaction and that personal connection that really helps in those big classes.
You seem like a real ambitious person.
I like to think I am. I definitely have goals and aspirations that I want to achieve. So I consider myself a very
That's good.
ambitious person.
Well, that'll also serve you well. I think it'll serve you well to be a lifelong learner. It serves you well that you are a good communicator. I mean, you can tell that. And I think being assertive, you know, being ambitious, you know, it will also serve you well. One of the things that Renee had said in the first part of this series was how important it's been for her to be strong. You know, when she did face adversity, you know, she was strong, you know. I also talked to others, you know, outside of the podcast, just getting their opinion, and, you know, said how important, like, what's the women in cyber jujitsu? Women, cyber, you know what I'm talking about? But there are some good women groups in information security that are support groups. I can't remember who I was talking to, but they're not, you know, some, when you have a women's group or a men's group, you know, there's the bashing crap that goes on. From what I hear in many of the women's groups in information security are not bashing groups. They're very much supportive groups, build each other up.
Right. We have one of those at Penn State. It's called Women in Information Science and Technology. It's a great program. We call it WIST. They offer a mentoring program where they pair up juniors and seniors with incoming freshmen coming into information security. I'm a part of that. It's a wonderful program. And it's really nice to kind of come together and see other women that are in the same situation as you are and connect and get those networks for once you graduate. And I was looking at the Executive Women's Forum for Information Security and Privacy, which Lori was talking about. And I saw the membership fee, which was $395, but it didn't have a student fee for people in university. So
What's the name of that group?
the Executive Women's Forum for Information Security and Privacy.
Do you want to join that?
I do, and I'm actually saving up the money. My parents have been so gracious they really want me to do that. And I was looking on their website and they say they encourage university women to join. But unfortunately, a lot of women in university can't afford that. You know, you're already struggling to pay the tuition, books and things like that. And when I was an engineer, I was a part of an organization called SWE, Society of Women in Engineering. And they actually offered a student fee, so a reduced price for the 4 years that you're in university. So I think that's important if they want to get these younger women to come in to maybe have a student fee. So
Well, if they don't have a student fee, would you be okay if FRSecure just paid for it for you?
I wouldn't know what to say. That would be amazing.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, I don't want it to hold you up, you know? So we'll take care of that after the podcast. We'll take care of that. Okay.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We like helping. That's what we do.
You've definitely helped in more ways than one for me.
Good. Good. Well, I'm super excited about your future. I can just, like I said, I remember those days, you know, just the freshness of it all. And now I'm old. Me out to pasture. You know what they're talking about? They're going to, it's not retirement. You know what Renee calls it now? The sidelining. You guys are going to sideline me. Put me off to the side. Get out of the way, Evan. You're slowing us down. All right. So classes, not too big. Now, what's the mix in terms of gender in a lot of those classes?
So according to Penn State, in the College of IST, the ratio is 76 men to 24 women. So it's not the best ratio, but it is certainly a better ratio than it has been in the past.
Yeah.
It can certainly be intimidating for a young woman just coming in, because there have been times when I've maybe been the only girl in the class or the one of 3 in a class. So I see it every day that it's slowly evening out. It's just taking time, I think.
That's good. Yeah, it's people like Gloria that'll go down in history as being like pioneers. One, you know, I was thinking too, they're in history, you know, speaking of history, there have been some very, very influential women in information security behind the scenes a lot of times. But we should do some research on that, Brad, and do a talk on just the early days of some of these women that worked at NASA, that worked for you know, a bunch of different projects.
Is it
Yeah.
Hedley Lamar? Isn't that? Am I thinking of the right name?
Andrea probably knows all this stuff.
That was no, wait, I'm sorry. That's the Mel Brooks. It was the, oh my gosh. Who's the actress in that? She was like, she developed the radio hopping frequency. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name.
I'm blanking.
If it comes to you, we're going to do a study, me and you, where we'll do a study, history of women in information security. Brad, and it'll be our homework. Andrea's got homework to do, so we'll have homework too.
I expect a full 10-page dissertation on it.
Yep. Brad, you listening?
I'm listening. I'm just going to drive me crazy though.
Okay. She wants a 10-page dissertation. All right. Gender ratio, family, friends. What are you sounds like your family's very supportive.
Yeah, so I'm the only child.
Are you really? So am I.
Yeah, it's just me. Unless you count the dog, he's the favorite child. 100%. But no, I'm very lucky. My family is extremely supportive. I have a father who works in DOD and was in the Navy, and he does strategic planning. So he interacts a lot with people in cybersecurity and just in information security. So I've been lucky enough to meet people in it, and I've actually met some women through him, which has been amazing. My mother doesn't know a lot about any of this, but she's my biggest cheerleader. So I'll talk about what we're learning about in class, and she'll say, I have no idea what you're saying, and I don't understand any of it, but I'm very proud of you.
That's cool. Yeah, I grew up an only child too. My son, only one of my, one of my children followed in my footsteps. So he's a pen tester now at FRSecure. And I remember the day, because I grew up a network guy. You know, I know networking. It's just, and IP version 4 hasn't changed, right? It's the same as it was back when I was your age. But I remember the day he called me and said, Dad, I know what an IP address is. It's like, atta boy. I'm so proud of you right now. You know, because a lot of times there's nobody you can really talk to about work.
Hmm.
If I go home and talk to my wife, she'll be my cheerleader. She's my support, but she has no idea what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the neighbors, you start talking about what you do, and you start talking, and then you just see the blank looks.
Yeah. Oh, is that like identity theft?
Yeah, sure.
Part of it, maybe.
Yeah.
So you'll run into that, I'm sure, Andrew. You probably already are, right? As you're explaining things to people.
Yeah, definitely. So not only my parents, but my extended family as well. They're also very supportive. I'm the oldest out of all the cousins. So I'm always getting bombarded with questions of, what do you want to do? What are you learning in your classes? And I try my best to explain and put in very latent terms. I tend to use a lot of metaphors to explain how things work.
Good for you. Yeah, you'll always do that. For years, we've been struggling with trying to explain people.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since I've been I started in this industry in 1992, cleaning boot sector viruses off of Windows 3 machines. So you've probably never seen a boot sector virus, and you've probably never seen a Windows 3 machine.
I've seen a boot vector virus in my textbook. Does that count?
Yeah, it does. But what was I going to say? Oh, do you find being an only child, are you, like, one of the things, and I don't think it's a character flaw, I think it depends on how you use it. I'm always my own biggest critic. Can you relate to that?
100%. I struggled with that growing up a lot. I was an athlete. I played volleyball for 10 years. In school, I always criticized myself if I got below an A. Even now, I still struggle with that. I'm definitely my own biggest critic, and my parents tell me a lot that I need to give myself a break.
Yeah. Well, try to keep that in check. As somebody who's an only child too, and Brad, you might be your own biggest critic too, but it's easy to beat yourself up. There's a thing in this industry called Imposter Syndrome.
Yes, I'm very familiar with Imposter Syndrome.
Yeah. Well, just know that, when you surround yourself with, others that build you up, they'll talk you out of that, crap. Because this is a hard industry. It's hard on you mentally. I think it's hard, even physically. Wouldn't you say, Brad?
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't realize it because people go, oh, you just sit at a desk. But if you're working in an incident or a disaster and you're working 24, 36, 48 hours, I mean, it wears you down.
Yeah. So just keep it in balance, I guess, and there's plenty of help as you continue to progress and you feel stressed out or you feel lonely or you feel, kind of lost. It's really important to have that support structure, mental health hackers. Have you ever heard of them?
I haven't.
Okay. Mental health hackers, great resource, of kind of support for around mental health and mental health awareness. I think more of us could use that because, when you look at the statistics, like, what is it? Half of adults, Brad, I think over the course of their lifetime struggle with a mental health issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that. It's probably higher than that even.
Yeah, and less than half ever get help for it.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's definitely a taboo, I think, in our society to have a mental health issue. It's very much, at least my dad's generation, not so much my generation anymore, but keep quiet and kind of suck it up.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about because over half the people have it and nobody talks about it.
Exactly.
Right. And I think it's really easy in our industry to slip into that too, because I think depending on which path you go in our industry, there's so much opportunity, right? The governance route, training, and you could do training, you could do red teaming, blue teaming, you could do incident response. I mean, there's so much stuff to do in this industry. So wherever you end up going, some of the jobs that you end up taking, I think, are sort of lonely.
Mm-hmm.
So, now I think being an only child, it kind of equipped me for that because I was always able to kind of keep myself occupied. But yeah, good to set the good habits now.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got some good support, like with the women group there at the college, and hopefully that's something that you guys can all keep in touch and,
Yeah.
doing some of these other things.
What challenges, have you had any specific challenges that come to mind or any specific difficulties that, as you've been going down this path?
Yeah, definitely. So because I started in cybersecurity later than other people, I've definitely had to catch up. A lot of my peers have been doing this since they were in high school and they know that's what they want to do. A lot of them started out playing video games and then they'd be against bots and it just kind of grew from there. So I've definitely had to catch up, which has been difficult, but I'm slowly getting to that by doing the extra work outside of class, asking questions to my professors. So that's definitely a big struggle. And then another one is that in group projects, we do a lot of group work in the College of IST because you do a lot of group work in the real world. A lot of my peers tend to give me either no work or very little work. So I have to kind of stand up and advocate for myself saying, no, I know how to do this. And yes, I can do this. Let me have this part of the project.
Yeah. Wow.
In the real world, you just slap them.
I was going to say that sucks that you're having to do that, but I think that's going to be an incredible skill for your career moving forward. Just having that confidence to be able to do that.
Well, how refreshing is it to hear somebody asking for stuff to do? I don't know if it's a parent thing or something, but it seems like the generation that follows ours, and it was probably my grandparents said the same thing about my parents, who said the same thing about me. Now I'm saying the same thing about my kids, but it's like, it seems like there's a lack of initiative in a lot of kids. So to see and hear you like, hey, give me some stuff, let's go. That's cool. And what kind of advice do you have for somebody who's thinking about getting into this?
So my biggest advice is just don't be intimidated. You may walk into class and pretty much see only guys. There are women in the industry, but we're spread out and you have to actively look for them. Don't be afraid to speak up, especially in class. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And don't be afraid to fail. I've seen a lot of girls hold back because they're afraid to try something because they don't want to embarrass themselves and fail. And another big one is don't be afraid to reach out and connect to other women in the industry. That is so, so important. They're going to be your support network. Eventually, they can maybe even help you get a job, give you a recommendation, talk to their boss and say, I had this girl in my class. She was amazing. She does so-and-so, and that can be really helpful.
Good advice.
I think you touched on something that I think has been the biggest surprise for me, the whole series, and every single person has said it, is when, the difference in men and women of trying and failing, and how women just want to be 100% and guys are just, if I fail, okay, let's learn from it and move and try again. And that's really been interesting to hear.
Well, and I think I look back at my career, and even today, sometimes I'm almost borderline reckless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I push so hard and I'm like, I don't know what would happen if I push that button.
Patch in production.
I'm going to push the button. Oh, crap. I shouldn't have pushed that button.
Mm-hmm.
But that just emphasizes that much more, though. I think the need for women on teams.
Mm-hmm.
The different perspectives, a different way of thinking about things. If women, and I'm saying if because that's what we've heard from the women we've talked to, women seem a little more cautious, just in general. That's nice, man. I would want that.
Mm-hmm.
My team. I think that's why my wife, I mean, honestly, makes us such a good couple. Because I'm a reckless idiot, and she's like, her number one. You ever done Strengths Finders before, Andrea?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's Clifton. Is that who wrote that?
Yeah.
It's he did a study and survey. Clifton was a big data guy, and wrote a book called Strengths Finders. And the theory is identify your strengths, focus on your strengths, and minimize your weaknesses. Right. And it's kind of an enlightening thing, especially if you're somebody like we are, where you're really hard on yourself, because then the better I understand myself, then I'm not hard on myself anymore about like stuff I suck at. I'm just always going to suck at that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But my wife's number one strength is responsibility. So that fits perfectly. That's probably number 50 on mine. So have you heard, do they talk about the talent shortage issue in your classes at all?
So not so much in my classes, but I'm fortunate enough at Penn State, we have the opportunity to have a lot of guest speakers come in. We get a lot of guest speakers from DoD, banking companies, and private security companies. And they have definitely pushed it that there is a huge need for people in cybersecurity, not just people who have degrees in computer engineering or computer science, but specifically cybersecurity, because it's different than those two. And they really need it, especially now that everything is online. Everything that you do is online. So yeah, they've definitely touched on it.
Now, does that encourage you? Because that probably means there's a job for you at the end of the day.
100%. It makes me a little less anxious about the future. And it makes me more confident that I'll be able to get a pretty stable career, hopefully early on.
Yeah. And honestly, I've seen so many security people and so many young security people. I have no doubt for you. I mean, the fact that you took the initiative to reach out in the beginning and, through our email, and then, and just talking to you, piece of cake.
Good to know.
Yeah. I wish I had those skills when I was your age, but I didn't. But look at me now.
You have your own podcast.
I have my own podcast. Somewhat.
Author. I mean,
author. Got 2 Harleys now.
That's more than I have. I had 0.
Yeah. Harleys are fun. So okay, so that's good. You're probably, you never know for 100%, but I'm pretty confident you're going to have a nice job when you get done with school. Even if you didn't get done with school, to be honest with you, there's so much opportunity, and it's the things that what people really need to hire for are the intangibles.
mm-hmm.
Right? We can teach you security. It's not rocket science, right? And there's all kinds of different ways to teach security. You can teach it lectures. Some people, are better with videos. Some people are better with books. Some, whatever fits for you. But the thing that you can't teach are those intangibles.
Right.
Can't teach you to be honest. Can't teach you to have integrity. Can't teach you to be dependable. Can't teach you to have gifts. You either have gifts or you don't have gifts. Right? Now, the good thing about our security industry is it's so vast and it's so broad that I think we could fit just about any gift in somewhere. Right?
Yeah.
So recruiting people, now have you talked to any recruiters yet? Have you even gone down that path yet?
Oh, 100%. Penn State has the largest career fair on the East Coast. So I go to those career fairs. The College of IST has its own career fair. So I go to all those career fairs and talk to people. And actually one of my passions is getting more women into the industry. I'm really passionate about that. I try to work on that. So
that's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So where do we get?
Yeah.
Is it middle school? Is it even before that? Excuse me.
I definitely think the biggest thing that would help get more women is outreach and exposure. I mean, statistically, the more people that you expose to information security, and the more people are gonna come in it, which more women might come in it. Actually, over last summer, I was a coding instructor for young children, and I had a little girl come in. She was about 9, and her brother had been coding. They use a program called Scratch, so it's not hard coding, it's block coding. And I was doing a demonstration on how to do it, and afterwards she came up to me and she said, you know, I'd always seen my brother and my friends do it. I've never really seen a female do it. And watching you code makes me think that I can do it too. So I think a big way to get more women is to have women come in and talk about it, because they'll be able to identify more with a woman than a man, and they'll see her and say, she's a strong, successful woman. I could be that. That's amazing. So I definitely think outreach and exposure to Girl Scouts, info sessions, summer camps, local workshops is super important. That will get more women involved.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the, whenever I have 5 kids, and each one of the children, you try to identify just their gifts. What are they kind of built for? And then you just try to encourage that, right? You try to expose them to everything. Like my 15-year-old daughter, my youngest, I introduced her to electronics, right? So we built, I brought home some Arduino stuff to play around with, and no interest, like 0. Like, well, all right, if you change your mind, so then you go into another thing. But I think not enough parents, maybe it's just society in general, doesn't just say, what are your gifts, and just do whatever you want. You might be a math whiz. Math isn't a boy's sport, right?
Yeah. Well, I also wonder, because my daughters are 14 and 12, right? So they've had exposure to this as well, and I get a lot of the eye rolls and stuff, but they at least show some interest when I'm working on stuff. But how, the percentage of InfoSec experts and then with daughters that are exposing them is small too, right? As opposed to other professions that they're more of, right? So I wonder if that also plays part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love, Andrea, that's a beautiful story. So a 9-year-old girl, what you just did, you know what I mean? You just opened her horizons, like, oh, you mean I can do that too? That's cool.
Yeah, I may have gone to the back and cried a little bit. I was so touched, and it's definitely important for them to see women doing that. And I think just in high school, I didn't even know that cybersecurity was an option or even a career or a field. I didn't know that my freshman year of college. So I think just putting it out there, saying, hey, this is an option, this is what you can do with this career, would do wonders. And not only getting more women, but getting more diversity in general.
Wow. Brad, we took a lot of things for granted.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because Victoria had that same kind of similar thing.
Yeah.
She didn't even know that information security or cybersecurity was a thing. I've always known it was a thing. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's like parallel universes.
We got a lot of work to do.
What's the plural of universe? Is it univeri? Universes?
I think it's just universes.
All right. Well, you're the one in college. No, I'm just kidding.
Non-English major.
Yeah, me neither. All right. Well, awesome. You really gave us some good things to think about. I love your perspective. You got it. It's going to be fun to progress in your career. So thanks again, Andrea, for joining us.
Thank you again for having me. It was such an honor.
Oh, absolutely. Well, honor's ours, truly. I mean, it's really cool when you see people progress in their career, it's the best blessing ever. There's no dollar amount to put on it, All right, so now it's time for some news. And Andrea, please stick around. You're more than welcome to chime in anytime you want to.
This is one of my favorite parts of the podcast.
All right. This isn't just time for old people to talk about news. Young people have stuff too. Flashy Nigerian Instagram star. Do you know what Instagram is, Brad?
I do. I do not have Instagram, but I do know what it is.
Do you use TikTok?
Nope.
Oh God, no.
If you use TikTok, you deserve to be hacked, Brad.
I do not. I don't have Facebook.
I have Facebook just because I post Harley pictures all the time. All right, flashy. So this comes from Naked Security by Sophos. Flashy Nigerian Instagram star extradited to U.S. to face BEC charges, business email compromise charges. This is dated July 7th, 2020. So it's like last Tuesday. Did you read anything about this? Did you hear about this?
I hadn't heard about this one.
So this person, known as Ray Hushpuppy. Really?
Why not?
Really? That's the best you can do?
I mean, I like hush puppies as much as the next person, but.
Well, yeah, especially being, where you guys grew up. Ramon Alurunwa Abbas, age 37. I'm not sure how they caught him, but he had an Instagram account with quite a following, and he was always kind of flashing around his bling. Well, it turns out all that bling was stuff that he had essentially stolen. 2.4 million users or followers on Instagram. So not only did he, and this is where so many dumbass attackers lose it, is you can't just be quiet.
Right.
You got to brag about it. You got to, flash it around. Well, that's what he did. And that's what he did. He got busted. He's a Nigerian national.
I mean,
Chicago, being extradited from the United Arab Emirates.
It's like those emails that you get saying that I'm a Nigerian prince and I need all this money.
Right. Well, business email compromises are so easy.
Oh gosh, yeah.
To do. And we I don't know how many we investigate now, but
A lot.
the last one I did was like $800 some odd $1,000, all gone. And it's just basic best practices, right? With protecting these things, two-factor authentication, dual control.
And even then, we've had that email compromise where they had multi-factor and the user still clicked the approve.
Well, but even dual control for changing account, like certain controls within a financial system, you should have dual control.
Absolutely.
Which means that your clerk can't change your accounts payable or accounts receivable can't just change account numbers and things like that. It's got to go dual control. Somebody else has to validate it and approve it.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times these business email compromises, I, as the attacker, trick you into believing that I'm the person you owe money to, right? And so then I reach out to you and say, hey, we've changed the way we're accepting payments now, or we changed banks or whatever. What's the process that I need to follow for you to, to change it on your system? And the business email compromise part of it is the attackers compromised the email and they created the inbox rules. So the real legitimate email user never sees the conversations that are happening.
We had one where they were actually communicating with our IR team, the attacker, through the email.
Have you ever done an incident response where you've seen multiple people fighting while you're there?
Not proof of it, but we've seen one that definitely appeared that there were multiple groups in there. It was very different families of malware we were found.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're into those things, you can read the complaint. I think I like reading complaints, to be honest. So the link to the complaint is in that news article. Beginning no later than October 15th, 2019, and continuing through at least October 17th. Yeah, whatever. You can read it yourself. It's good stuff. Anything to add on that one?
No, that is still happening.
Oh, yeah.
Glad they caught him.
As long as there's people, right. But what do you think is going to happen to him? How much time do you think he's going to get?
I have no idea.
Do you think he'll even be found guilty?
I haven't read the complaint, so
Yeah.
I don't know what the evidence, but I mean, the fact that they were able to extradite him and bring him over, seems like they've got some pretty solid evidence.
A lot of that nation exchange stuff, there's always something political there. You know what I mean? It wasn't just, hey, we caught this guy, do you want him kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the next one is from Beta News, and the title is, do you put tape over your webcam so hackers can't spy on you? Apple says not to.
That sounds like Apple.
Right?
Well, it's funny because if you read it and then read what it says, that headline's a little bit misleading because they're saying don't do it because it could damage the computer because they didn't design for that.
But how many times do people just do nothing but read the title of the article? But you're right. They don't want you to damage the camera.
Well, don't they have kind of devices that you can put over and slide?
Yeah.
Legislation.
But they're saying not to do that because it'll break it. They're too thick. It'll break the display.
Yeah, because those MacBook Airs are like this thin. Well,
I like the suggestion at the end. Yep. Every computer maker should integrate a built-in privacy shutter. At this point, why not?
Absolutely. Yeah, the only way you can truly protect against it is it's a physical control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you're using now, I didn't see anywhere in the article that it was going to avoid the warranty or anything like that. Did you?
No, but they'll probably find a way to argue that you modified.
It is Apple. When are they going to innovate something again?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, when Steve Jobs was around, they were innovating all the time. Now they don't innovate anymore. They just add another camera and then charge you more.
Soon you're going to have an iPhone that's just all cameras that are back.
Right? Like 50 cameras. All right, the next one is from InfoSecurity Group or InfoSecurityMagazine.com. Teen murdered after confronting cyberbullies.
This just sucks.
That's awful.
Well, and the point here is this stuff happens. And we need to do something as an industry to wake parents up. Not just to this, but also to human trafficking, also to sexual predators. I mean, it's crazy, man. Because Brad, you and I are the last generation that grew up without cell phones.
Yeah.
We're the last ones who grew up actually going to bed after I played with my Star Wars action figure or something. You know what I mean? I wasn't.
Yeah, no tablets or phones or devices.
Right. And now, so if that's the generation that's raising this generation that's suffering from this stuff, huge disconnect. They don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of parents don't even know what their children are doing online.
Right.
And they don't have the parent protectors or anything like that, which is a huge issue.
And the human nature part of it that sucks is people don't do something until something bad happens.
Yeah.
And so what do you do now? This is a teenager in San Diego fatally shot after confronting cyberbullies who targeted her sister online. So protecting her sibling ends up dying for it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and a lot of people my age and younger don't realize that what you say online has real life consequences.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be pushed.
And yeah, exactly. And you don't know who you're meeting.
Exactly.
Right. Why would you go confront what you think is, a 15-year-old girl, whatever, however old, and then you don't know who you're meeting. That's just a huge risk.
Well, yeah. Well, and it's all social engineering, in terms of the predators and the sex trafficking and most of that stuff, right? You catch somebody at a weak time, it gets exciting. It's exciting talking to somebody online who's talking to me about things I've never talked about before, right? Opening my eyes to, a whole new world. It gets alluring.
And especially if you're a young girl nowadays, you're very insecure with your looks. So if you have someone online saying, oh, you're really pretty, you're really beautiful, like, I would love to meet up with you, it can be enticing to a younger female.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's sad. So we have a long ways to go on that. I mean, there's no real tips in the news story or anything about it. It's just bringing it to, awareness. So if there are parents listening who haven't talked to their children about what they do online, that aren't looking, and don't just take them at their word for it either. And don't be a jerk, and just beat down on it. Like what I did with my daughter, and I think you did the same thing with yours, Brad, is you have a discussion, right? I'm having this discussion because I love you, not having this discussion because I'm mean or because, I'm controlling.
Here's the reality.
Right. It's our job as parents to protect our children, right? That's like my job number 2, maybe 3. Job number 1 is probably my wife, right? And then job 2 is probably the kids or the dog. That could be the dog, Andrea.
For my parents, it's the dog, which I understand. He's adorable and a well-behaved child. So why wouldn't he be your favorite?
I don't know. You're going to make a lot more money in a hell of a lot better industry than your dog is.
I'm not as fluffy though.
Well, just grow it out.
But as someone who is still a kid and who was obviously a younger kid very recently, I think the biggest thing that my parents did when they had that conversation with me is to not talk down to me, to talk to me like it's something that I'm able to understand. And I think that brings in that sense of responsibility of saying, okay, so this is a serious thing. My parents trust me to make the right decisions and they trust me to understand the seriousness of it. And then I think that makes the implementation a lot better.
Yeah, really good advice. Really good. All right, wrapping up, shout outs. There you have it. Episode 88 is a wrap. Well, almost. Thank you, Andrea. Again, that's like this many times, probably 3 times I said thank you.
And I'm going to thank you again, because again, this is such an amazing opportunity that when I emailed you guys, I didn't think would ever happen.
I'm going to see your thank you, and I'm going to raise you another thank you. That's 4 for me now.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, we'll just get competitive. Because you were probably competitive too, but yeah.
Very.
Yeah, me too. So that was our 5th installment. I think it was awesome for the Women in Security series. Next week, we welcome another great guest. It's going to be Judy Hatchett. She's the CISO for SureScripts. And she's a good friend. She's amazing. So tune in next week. Brad, you're leading next week. You get to talk to Judy. And you know Judy, don't you?
I know Judy.
Yeah.
Judy's awesome.
She really is. Either of you have any shout outs this week?
So I will say I looked it up and it was Hedy Lamarr. I was very close, that developed radio frequency skipping.
All right. So you're giving a shout out to Hedy Lamarr?
There you go. Women in history for InfoSec.
Good for you, man. Andrea, do you have any shout outs? Anybody you want to?
I want to give a shout out to my club, Code Develop. Hopefully you guys are doing well and staying safe this summer. And then obviously my parents, thank you guys for supporting me in everything that I do. And I love you guys so much.
Awesome. And I'll reiterate that. I'll give a shout out just to parents who are stepping up, parents who are, taking that uncomfortable step of, learning the basics of information security and cybersecurity so that they can protect their families better. I know that there are some out there. We need more of you. So shout out to that. We appreciate you, our listeners. If you've got something to say to us on the show, send us an email at unsecurity@protonmail.com. if you're the social type, socialize with us on Twitter. We finally set up an Unsecurity podcast Twitter account. Did you see that?
Yeah. I was like, how did we miss this for so long?
I don't know.
We're clearly not marketing people.
No, not marketing at all. Look at us, Brad.
Right?
You can't market this. So that's, if you're Twittering, it's at UnsecurityP for podcast. The at Unsecurity, it was taken by a guy, can't remember his name, but he's been inactive since like 2015. So we won't get that one. If you want to socialize with Brad, he's at Brad Nye. If you want to socialize with me, I'm at Evan Francine. Andrea, do you want people to get in touch with you? And if so, how?
Sure. I don't have a Twitter, but I have an Instagram. It's A_Hatcher728. So if you want to let me know. And my email is amh728@gmail.com. So you can definitely reach out to me.
Awesome. And I'm going to, I'll email you after the show. And because I need to figure out how we're going to get you signed up for the women, Executive Women's Forum. And also to get what you just said so I can put it on the blog so that people can find you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, that's it. We'll talk to you again next week.